Well, what a wonderful morning it was to have Dennis and Sandy Sasso with us. It was so helpful. I always had the same feelings whenever I meet and listen to you friends. I always think, boy, I wish I were that smart. And then the second thing I always wonder is it possible for there to be a Quaker synagogue somewhere? And if so, how would we begin that process? Thank you for being with us, friends. Your presence is a gift to us. JB, thank you for bringing the message last Sunday in my absence. I had a nice time with my family, and it was very good to be with family and to be recovering from Christmas, which went well. I received a book from my son Sam and his daughter Kelsey, a book on architecture, because I'm like George Costanza, that in my dream life I've always wanted to be an architect, designing lovely places for people to inhabit, especially poor people. Why do poor people have to live amid such ugliness? Why can't there be beauty for them too? So I got the book and began thumbing through it and discovered the names of the houses that I've been living in all these years. I've lived in 5 separate houses in my entire life, 2 ranch houses, an American Foursquare, a folk Victorian farmhouse, and our house now, a colonial salt box, which doesn't have a front porch, but was ironically paid for by writing a book named for the front porch. Just a little irony there of life. The architect in our family was my grandfather Hack, my mom's dad, who was made to leave school at the age of 14 to work in a glass factory beside his father. It was his father's idea. The family needed the money. Child labor laws weren't enforced. And so my grandfather told him one morning, "You've had enough education. You'll come to work with me." And so he did, and worked there until he was 62, when the owner of the glass company absconded with all the factory funds, including the pension fund. So my grandfather found himself at the age of 62 without a job or a pension, so went to college, which he'd always wanted to do, at the age of 62, and studied architecture, which he worked at until he was 78 years old. And if you ever visit the old Cathedral Catholic Church in Vincennes, Indiana, and you stand on the street facing it, off to the left of that building is a beautiful, lovely little library built in the Greek Revival tradition, designed by my grandfather in 1968, who also oversaw its construction in 1969. When it came time to pay him, though, the bishop gave him a plaque instead of the promised fee. My grandfather spent the rest of his life mistrusting the owners of glass factories and Roman Catholic bishops. Despite being stiffed by both God and man, I remember that period of my grandfather's life as very rich, very happy and satisfying. When the library was being constructed and we would go see them, he would say to me, "Come on, Phil." And I would walk with him the 4 blocks from their house down to the old cathedral to see that lovely little building that he had designed. And even after he moved to Danville, we would drive him down every now and then just so he could stand in front of the building and revel in what he had had a hand in creating. He was always happiest when he was around that building. We'd be standing there. He'd be pointing things out. People would walk by. He would stop and point to the library and say, "I designed that, you know." And then he would give them a 3-hour discourse on the Greek revival movement and its impact on American architecture. Asking my grandfather about architecture was like asking a hypochondriac how they feel. You were told way more than you wanted to know. Incidentally, I've noticed that many of you have stopped asking me how I feel these days. I've had a cold all week and other unexplained mysterious maladies since you want to know. But I remember thinking, even as a young person, that someday I hope to be as passionate about something as my grandfather was about architecture. We've been thinking about stuff we want to do before we croak. We're calling it our geezer manifesto. And today I want to add to our list the lesson I learned from my grandfather. I want, in my geezer years, to be excited and passionate about creative and useful work. I want to contribute, even if my only pay is a plaque and satisfaction. Throughout the Bible, there are several streams, several patterns, one of which is this, that from time to time, when God needed something to happen, God would call an older person to creative and useful work. Sarah gave birth to Isaac as an old woman. Anna was an elderly prophetess in the temple when she was asked to bless Jesus. Noah built a great ark in his advanced years. Job began a new family. Abraham embraced a new faith. Now let's understand something. Whenever you read in the Bible about so-and-so lived to be 938 years old, sometimes people were attributed with incredible longevity. But in the Bible, age wasn't so much a statement about one's durability as much as it was a statement about one's character and faithfulness. And these were the people that God often called to creative and useful work. People of noble character and fidelity. People with enthusiasm and a sense of purpose. Just the kind of people you and I admire.
You want to go bowling?
Note to self, in my advancing years, I will not lose my sense of purpose. I will not live aimlessly. I know a man who, a week after he retired, bought a recliner and a big screen TV and began watching Tucker Carlson. He said he had done enough. It was time to relax. He phones me every now and then wanting to talk, and I honestly can't bear the conversation because he talks only of yesterday and never tomorrow. No purpose, no goals, no hopes, no aspirations. He has no future, only his past. And honestly, I don't think he's going to live much longer. After all, how much Tucker Carlson can one listen to before wanting to die? When we ask someone what they're going to do in their retirement, what we're trying to discern is what will animate your life. What will animate your life? Because if nothing does, they're goners. For all the blessings of retirement, it can be dangerous. I've been reading about it. Did you know people who retire are 40% more likely to have a heart attack or stroke than those still working? And we say, well, that's because they're older. We tell ourselves, is that it? Well, maybe that's it. But on the other hand, maybe it's because we lose our sense of purpose. Maybe it's because we feel we have nothing to contribute. I have a neighbor who spent all his working life in the building trades. Big gruff He-Man kind of guy. Whenever I was around him, I always felt like I was less a man because he was so obviously a big rugged guy who would go hunting in Alaska, killing bears and coming back and regaling me with these stories. And he retires 3 years ago.
I know,
He
but
takes to his recliner. I gave him another year before he had a massive stroke and checked out. But then something fascinating happened to him. His son got a woman pregnant, got a girl pregnant. And they asked their father, big He-Man guy, to care for the little baby while they were at work. My big, gruff neighbor, who I wouldn't even let my grown teenage children around, responsible all of a sudden for this little tiny baby girl. He said, can you watch her 3 days a week? He says, yeah, I can do that. I'm thinking to myself, this will not end well. This will not end well. But you know what? He has blossomed. He has blossomed. Feeling useful has completely changed his life. Now the baby's parents married. Now they're expecting another baby. I asked him, what are you going to do about it? He said, I'm going to watch that one too. Now, do you honestly think this man is going to die anytime soon? No, no. He has a purpose now. He's got too many people depending on him. We need that, don't we? We need that. Let's remember that in our geezer years, that old age is the boring way to die.
Yeah, you can put it,
It's the boring way to die.
shelf.
And it isn't the only thing that kills us. Sometimes we die because our lives fail to have purpose and meaning any longer. We die because there's no joy, no dream to greet us at the start of each day. I learned that from my grandfather, who at the age of 64 designed his first building and received for his efforts a $20 walnut plaque, and the deep satisfaction, the profound satisfaction of creating a work of useful and enduring beauty. We Quakers end with queries.
Thank you, Matt.
What is your purpose? What dream do you awaken to each day?
Thank you, Matt.